everybody. I got another gameplay replay analysis today. This was loaded onto StarCraft Reddit, specifically this right here, AllThingsTerran. This is a 3K player who's asking, the Terran, of course, is asking how to play better and do better. I've recently escaped this area of challenge, so I'm going to go ahead and go through it a little bit. As you can see, just from the active army tab on the beginning on the overview, we have a supply block at about 5 minutes and 45 seconds. That happens, nothing too crazy. It's not going to keep you out of, say, upper diamond. Probably won't keep you out of masters unless you're trying to do a specific timing attack based off the lines and things. So we're going to go ahead and jump on in with our game with Laghorn and Eriadan. Is how you say it. I'm sorry if I butchered your name watching this. In the red we have our Protoss player, and in the blue we have our Terran player. It is a little bit of a longer game. Check it out. Look, both players hit their timing really well on that opening on their first worker. They didn't have any latency with it, kind of stuff. We can see that the Terran is going to open up with a supply depot. This is very standard. We kind of expect that. Make sure that he continues production here. Nothing going on crazy. We're going to be doing more analysis on our Terran player here. There is another variety of build where you could have gone a Vespene gas here earlier, send a scout, and that is an option. You can also do a scout after you start the Vespene gas. You can also skip scouting entirely as a Terran because you have the ability to pull off. You just have to be ready to deal with cannons that pop up around here if you don't do any scouting at all, and they should be finishing another few seconds of that will be coming out at 1:15, 1:10. And you wanted to scout it with your barracks and such earlier than that. The thing of it is you just need to make sure that you have a Marine or a Reaper so you can kill a probe attacking. So you actually are very well defended and you don't have to worry about it. Again, this is a Diamond / Platinum player replay. So this scout is actually ever so slightly late. Even on this map here, it's a little bit late. Usually the scout, since SCV does not actually click on a probe, does that time. It's checking for any kind of proxies. This is a good practice. I would probably either rally the Reaper at the probe or rally it across the map. This is a standard 1-1-1 opening. A little late on his drop, 30 or so minerals. I understand why he's being distracted by the probe coming around and all that kind of stuff. But this is one of those kind of things where you don't want to make that mistake. SCV production is good, wheeling is good, has an SCV now out near the edge. At this point, I would not do this unless you're worried about a Zealot walking in or Stark coming in shortly, and he does pull back after his Reaper starts to do the scouts. At this point, I would probably just send the Reaper across that. I wouldn't go that far out. I understand the scouting patterns, but you've missed over here, which is actually closer, and you don't necessarily need to go that deep. If you're going out this far, chances are that proxy is not worth you scouting, and you're finding out exactly what the base is for. Interesting build from the Protoss side, kind of separated and all that stuff. Bunker is kind of set back. You either want it to cover your ramp, or you want to cover your front entrance entirely. Especially if you're going to be talking soccer or something like that. This bunker doesn't really do what you need it to do. Maybe putting it even closer to the command center so you can cover most of your SCVs. Reaper is going over to scout. We're going to go ahead and jump into our view of our Terran. He's going in, he's seeing what's going on, he's clicking on things. It's great, so he knows that there's a robo coming. He knows that his opponent has 2 gas. He knows that they had another gate on the way, I think that was, yeah. And I have a cheat sheet in the left-hand corner, so he actually saw that information, so he knows that a robo is on the way. So he needs to be prepared to deal with robo units here very shortly. He needs to make sure he doesn't get supply blocked here a little bit. He's already got his supply on the line. He grabs he's going 1-1-1. This is not a bad build, but it does leave you open to multiple different attacks if you are not super good at control and you're not exactly perfect with what you're looking for. I LSUV for a few months, something that I wouldn't do myself. I'm only a few hundred MMR above it. I'd use the SCV that was behind the neural line versus all the way across. At this point, the decision is, do we want to get another thing in production for barracks or factory, etc. And it looks like we're going to go tech heavy. So I would expect either another factory shortly or something along those lines. So we're not looking at bioplay most likely. The reason that I say that is because we have this extra gas going down. We don't have any more barracks, kind of stuff along, and so on and so forth. He has an idle SCV for a while now. Did catch it. So he's going to go bio with a slightly heavier gas count. I don't know exactly what our decision making is on these fronts. Remember that Protoss has the ability to do bookends, so you want to have like a tank, something like a TVT, possibly back here. He doesn't have stim on the way at all, which I definitely would. Here's your vision of the observer. Catch it. You can go in and out and see it along there. It's not moving. It's a little bit harder to see. It's a little bit harder to see, but this is skin on the other side. That does a drop without stim, without combat shield. Does get some more information, sees more gates. Looks like he's making a couple of probes. His opponent is not reacting on the whole as the army coming in. He does check, but he's going to take a little bit of damage, but if he's a little bit higher on the mark, he's going to be knocked out. That he's not going to take that. Undersaturated on the gas, still hasn't corrected that. Now he has. Not bad. I usually select a bunch of them, send it over, wait, click off until you only have two, or then click off two and then click back on the neural lines. But not bad decision making in any way, shape, or form. Again, there's nothing that's really bad here other than the floating resources. So where is your next eBay? Where's your factory? Where's your next command center? Why are you getting supply blocked? So on and so forth. So I don't see a supply depot. Oh, there it is. I'm on his camera. Okay, so he goes, maybe I attack there, maybe I attack there, and then way oversaturated on his natural, so he should be on 3 base or like on 5 or 6 rack at this point. He's just floating a lot. You're just floating on a lot of resources. You're putting yourself behind, just in general because of that. It's okay to have pulled back after doing those few units of damage. He's got 39 workers. You have 56. You should be exploding right now. You shouldn't have any idle add-ons. You shouldn't have any idle structures. You should be making it so you can get your 2-2 as soon as you're available to get it. Just so you go 2-1, which I would argue is a weaker position. You don't have any kind of protection against those one of those called drop the warp prisms, right? You just don't have it anywhere. Honestly, you have a lot of military. All you had to do was take your entire army and walk across that. You did a pretty decent amount of damage earlier, and so just not having that stuff going is hurting. Also, to open your other supply depot, so that way you have a more ideal run back and you don't have to manage the back and forth. You're at 34 workers on one base at this point, just long distance line. Like you're hurting yourself with oversaturation above 22 really badly. You should just send it to your next base. You should be getting that extra resources. Basically, your buttons on your command card, you don't have your upgrades on there. I would add them either to like your bio group or something along those lines. That way you actually have stuff. It looks like you're getting ready to set up a multi-prong. I would do a multi-prong. You have the army to do it, and Terran needs to explode at a certain point, and you're just not quite there. Good job on taking out important structures. You have the ability to robo, you're slowing down, you kill off a lot of stuff. You're going to lose both these tanks, and that's why I was like, you should walk lost. If you do get out, oh my god, yeah, you're going to be risking really hardcore. That being said, you still have tanks in production. He's not going to mine out that neural line. That's right over here. He's just not going to mine out yet. And if he is, he's going to do something cheeky. So this would have been a better base or to lift and land here. You should actually probably be on 4 base at this point. We're at 9 minutes. so you're a little bit behind. You can see that his opponent is full. As he's pulling things around and all that good stuff. He knows what army comp that he has to be prepared for. That's what Thermal Lance, and of course his Colossus. And he's using Storm. He was trying to get Storm before he has it. He's going to see he has it. So you're going to be running into a really tough situation. You're already oversaturated on the space. I don't see another except on the way. Way earlier, right? You're oversaturated. You have 6 in your natural extra workers, 6 in your main, and an extra 15 in this base. You literally should be on 4 working in the 5th base already. That's how much, how far behind you are on your base. That being said, you are ahead of your opponent in a lot of regards. So at this point, it's just a matter of what are you, when you interact with them, how are you going to deal with that? About 9 to 10 minutes, you're definitely going to be looking at Colossi, so you either have to have a superior army, or you have to have the appropriate, you don't even know if you have the third yet, workers hanging out, or Marines hanging out. Good skin, gets to see the army, know exactly what they're doing, out of position on the high ground, that's a great idea. They are getting their third, you can see that. Your production's behind again, so your infrastructure is where you're weak right now. As I had suggested in my earlier comment on Reddit, it looks like your macros will struggle.
Complete.
And you need to pull him into those tanks, and since he's not pulling into your tanks, send your army into his natural. Make him, like, yeah, there you go, that's a good call. That's such a good decision. Now he's coming back to fight you, pull back, make it so all your tanks to fight, your entire army is fighting his army. Make sure that you are complicated with his patterns. He is storming you, he's going to do a lot of damage. Make sure you're macro. Building units at home, I see you are. That's good. So if we look at the losses, it's about even. You have more bank than him, and you have way more supply than him. So that means that you need to regroup your army and go pushing it. Look, you get your production now. You're way late on this. You're like, oh, let me build all this stuff, and you realize how much resources you have. Again, you're in this situation where you have tons and tons of workers, but a lot of them are just sitting there doing nothing. 17 and 8. You have, I'm sure on the other base, you probably have 17 and 8. That you have 13 and 10. And on this base, you have 34. You've fallen off on your work production, and that's okay. You're at 82, but you're not on your bases. There's base that needs to be taken, and you need to get the saturation around. You would be way ahead of your opponent. Just have that fixed. You did a great job doing a lot of damage, so you just need to take F2 at this point. Get everything together, put it all right out front of his, outside of his third, be ready for Storm, which you already know. Continue, which, like, you know he had it, you saw him do it, you know he has thermal lances, so where's your Viking production? You don't have any you're not producing those tanks, there's your Vikings. Again, everything's just a little bit slow, it's like you're reacting. Oh, you actually.
Add-on complete.
Also, I would not have worried about knocking the rocks out. There's no advantage, disadvantage for this. I would have you did so much damage and got into such a small army, and you already got the army at home. Oh, it's coming across, trying to knock out rocks. Your base. If you can snipe both of his Templar, that would be amazing. And you're just a little tiny slow on grabbing both of them, and that hurts a lot. You didn't do anything to kill his AoE at all before the fight, and you did F2. Like, F2 is okay in this situation. I would 100% F2. Land like this. Good job resaturating. F2. You get your army, just attack the whole thing. Yeah, you lose some of your scouting stuff that's out there, but like, you kill his army and then you can just march across the map. I would have probably stayed on Maya, at this point, based off of where you're at. You know, probably across. So your army is just going to be in this weird spot.
Research complete.
Again, you did a really good job doing a lot of damage. You lost the fight because you just didn't click on those 2 units. You're still oversaturated here. You can reconstruct that and you move your structures. I wouldn't be opening these rocks. These rocks are like where your stuff is. This protects you. Leaving this here, and leaving these rocks there. Actually helps you more than anything because it means that he has more stuff to get through for you to fight.
Mineral field.
In addition, you can keep him on 3 base. You just keep him off those 3 bases here, and or you can get him back on 2 base. He's probably completely knocked out on all this stuff. If you're not prepared, you're like in this 4 position, and he's going to get you. You didn't. Your units are just in such a terrible position. You didn't EMP his Templar. That's the stuff you want to EMP. Help it. Nothing too terrible. Let's go just a little bit here. I mean, you're starting to do long distance. You move your stuff around. Allied stuff is weak. But you're not killing his AoE. You're killing his tanky, junky, I don't care stuff. Literally, he does not care about his numbers. His production's super low. His numbers probably he's got a 3rd base somewhere. He didn't do anything to scout that. Like he didn't have a marine here, a marine here, a marine here. If you're gonna spot a place, you wanna know how many bases you're on. Good job on doing things, getting 3-3, doing things on there. Again, you're fighting him from a situation where, and your positioning is great. You're still clumped up. You gotta pull some more back. You siege tank to siege. You're out of position when you saw stuff, but you never, ever saw his vision. He has observers all over the map at this point in the game. You didn't get a Raven. You didn't scan for him. You didn't look for him. Those are other things to take advantage of. You have a drop here. You need to needs to be queued all the way up. This base should have been denied. This base should have been denied, or at least you should have followed up and tried to kill it after the initial fight. He put up a lot of stack D, so you're perfectly fine there. And your tank production just fell off way early, which is okay. You don't necessarily need tanks, but you didn't have the composite unit grouping to deal with your opponent. That being said, you should have, at this point, so many orbitals that you can like scan where he's at all times. Pretty close. You should have liberators at this point, especially since you're in 3K MMR. Like, just if you had liberators sieged up and stuff instead of having to worry about ghosts, which is way more complicated control, right? You group all this on one hotkey. All right, nice job on doing a drop, seeing where he's at, killing a bunch of workers. You did a good job over there. That was great. Problem is this is where his real income is, and you don't even know it's there. So if you look, well, you know you do, but you didn't have. You're just like he's got so much income. He's got so much bank. He's a big supply ahead of you. You don't have the bases, infrastructure there, so on and so forth. Once he starts running away, just go right back. Literally go right back. I mean, you're trying to come back from a situation where you were way ahead already, and you're not there. And you place your army over here, and his army and his forces are here. We want to kind of like push in over here, make sure we clear this or something. Give that extra vector of attack, and you have it. He's still protected. You can't just walk over here and have Tuning there, or not even have Tuning. Like, you don't have the ability to send 10 Marines, like a run by as his ally, to just give him a nice surprise to make the rest of your army come out. Oh no. And he sees your army too, because he's got an observer right there. Yeah, he knew you were there. So you get... Ghosts are so hard to control at our level. It's something you need to learn how to do eventually, but you don't have the right army composition. You don't have the backbone that supports it. You don't have, you haven't forced them into high tech stuff. You don't have the tanks and oh my goodness, planetary bases to protect yourself. You're not in a situation where your control is strong enough that you can actually rely on it regularly and stuff. You see scans and all that stuff are oversaturated all over the place. By no means am I saying that you've done anything wrong. That's not what I'm trying to say. Your opponent should never have gotten to this point. This is the ultimate, quote-unquote, ultimate army for the ground that they have. You're not doing anything to reduce his income right now. You know he has this base, you know he has this base. You don't you're not on the map in any way, shape, or form. When you are on the map, it's one big clump. And bio is about being mobile. It's like hitting in one location, moving somewhere else, so on and so forth. You don't have the right unit composition to do what he's doing. You haven't gotten your weapons upgrades, and you know he has Colossi. Not necessary. Again, oversaturated, not fully saturated, empty bases. You're just at this point behind. And to get back, you literally need to be doing drops, but you know if you put up a cannon over here, maybe you scan and just make sure that he's not what he's doing, seeing if he's doing a tech switch to starport, and then realize, oh crap, he's got this stuff. And again, I have dog view, right? It's a totally different world. You're not gonna mess with this up here. Also, focus down the shit better. Not a bad idea to go after the pylons. I like that idea. But you need to get this army out. You cannot lose this army. Taking too much damage. You need to this Nexus doesn't mean anything. The only thing that matters to you is killing tech by like council, tech artifacts, facilities, and unpowering things so that you can't not build more army. That's the only thing you care about at this point. You don't have vision over here, so like marine here, the tank that's here, it's gonna not shoot until they're like right here, and then you're in trouble. Your army is all clumped up, you know he has storm. Orbitals are great, fine. You're way oversaturated. Send it over here. Send it in this corner. Get it further away from him. Put a planetary here. Put a planetary here. Make sure that you send one SCV around. Just scout. Right? These are just things that you're doing. This map is surprisingly good for Terran. If I'm not mistaken, it's actually the best. You're just gonna be at this point. It's really hard for you to come back. It's gonna be really. I don't know. I don't know if even you gave Maru this position. Yeah, there you go. All those storms. You have not enough selection. All that kind of stuff. That being said, positive things. You got ahead really early. You did really well with that drop. It would have been better if you were going to go bio to make it a 2-1-1. But a 1-1-1 is not a bad choice. I understand the thought process. 1-1-1 is generally, in my opinion, reserved for something that's a much higher MMR. It's not bad if you're going to go like a Raven and you're worried about DTs. Like that's a great option for it. Or if you're going to go Banshees. That way it's like, did you build an observer? Did you build cannons? No? Good game. That's pretty much why you want to push 1-1-1 as hard as you can. Alternatively, if you want to get a really high tank count, or you're going to go mech, that's another option as well. Other things you did pretty well. You stayed off supply block for almost the entire game, and you had a pretty good linear growth. But once you hit that max, you did not fill in your production. This production didn't come in until it was too late. You didn't have your extra bases, so like you didn't have that really strong oomph attack to like really knock them out because you just didn't have the production that follow up with your original attack. You also didn't have the income. You were way oversaturated on a lot of bases. We talked about this, and I don't need to reiterate it too many more times. And then, of course, your opponent had full vision the whole time. So sending in like one Raven is just like, let me drop some turrets here. Let me scout it out, right? That's a better, higher level unit to focus on before the Ghost, in my opinion. Just simply because Ghost, it messes up when you can stem. It requires you to have 2 control groups. Like your opponent has 2 control groups. He's got a Disruptor and all of his army. When in the game, you didn't really have 2 control groups appropriately for Ghosts and your rest of your army. You can see you have medevacs. That's great. That medevac drop over here. Perfect. But you still had your full army on that. You didn't have Ghost separated. You didn't like. Basically, this control setup is great. This is a drop, only Marines and Marauders. This should have your Ghosts, tanks, etc. on it. And you should reselect your whole army on it and then put all your Ghosts on too. That way you can like EMP appropriately while controlling the rest of your army. And you just like you shift to like pull things back or whatever. Other things that I noticed that was very telling. You didn't. It felt like the way that your build was structured, you kind of knew what you were doing up until like around 10 minutes. At this point, maybe it was a little earlier. Maybe it was like 8 minutes. Yeah, you were at 8 minutes. Your build fell off. You had like a reactor that wasn't doing anything. You had a lot of money. You didn't have the extra bases you need. You were super oversaturated. It's like you expected to win the game on your first attack with your drop up here, and you did win the game until you slowly bled out units and things. Like this attack is a good idea, but once you do the damage you need to get out, you can't lose anything. Like you just need to no sieging up, or if you siege, you know you're sacking those units, or you have to have more than just that. This army, at the same time as this army being over here, needs to be at the front, making sure the third's denied or pulling away here. So like you drop, siege up, push up here as soon as you like maybe 5 seconds later. That way you have a multi-prong attack. You're basically saying, "Ha, I'm over here, come attack me. Ha, I'm pushing in the door, get out, game over." Right? If you were to look, his army does not isn't there. If we go in and we look at the attack, right? You don't have any map presence at all. This army could have killed and prevented this base from even going down, or prevented this army from going up here and killing off your medevac and your 2 tanks that were there, which was a huge loss. And then, of course, we talked about your observer catching, all that kind of stuff. Your positioning for bases, I would have gone here personally. Then you do your 4th here, your 5th here. Or since you're Terran, you lift and land here. That way, and you do like a planetary as your 4th here. That way, the only thing you really have to worry about is warp prism, and then you clear this after. Like, this is a very vulnerable base. This is a decently vulnerable base, but it's like far enough away from your opponent that you don't have to worry about it. This is like this base you want to almost take. Like, I would go probably, here's your main, here's your natural, here's your 3rd. Take here as your 4th, or here as your 4th. It gets funky, right? It depends on where you are in the game and things like. I can't really give that advice, but you definitely would probably want. I would probably place my 3rd here, and I don't get this much saturation. Like, look how much money he has. Look at his number of workers. You definitely are like gimping yourself. You should have had another K or so resources on the way in easily with your number of harvesters and the fact that you have 3 bases at this point. And it's just all right here and all right here. Like you just, it's one of those things. Then you have this group of Marines, which great. This is great. You're ready for a drop, but he sees it and you're like kind of spread out. Like lower the supply depot. It's okay to have your army right here and respond. You're not. If you're going to be like a GM, you need to have like a handful of Marines here versus here. The reason is that you're working. You want to be able to get that warp prism as soon as it gets in. But as soon as you get this base up, put a turret here or a sensor tower here, and then you're suddenly like, or put a sensor tower here, and now you have all that response time. He's never going to drop you. Most players at this level, they'll never send anything through sensor tower because they think your mini map awareness is really good. He also sees your comp, so just kind of being aware. You did do damage to this army, but this army didn't move out. This army didn't move out. You have an army that's superior to his by a long shot. And if you had just like been placed, it's just like, this is where you lost the game. This is where you could have won the game pretty easily. And you continue to upgrade your production and stuff. Like, if you just taken all this army and just been like right here with it, just F2 the whole thing other than the drop, which you can see. I think you made a mistake here. I think you accidentally made 1 be all of your 4 book. That all being said, good games overall. Your opponent got his AoE. You weren't able to actually shut down his AoE, and that of course made it so that you were not able to take the W. AoE is a very powerful tool. Congratulations. With all of your other games, I'm sure that you play really well. Your ghost play needs work. Mine does too. So if that's the case, focus on things that are a little bit easier. Liberators, you were really good with your tanks, generally speaking. Your positions were pretty strong. You didn't take out the observers. Okay, fine, not a big deal. A Raven is a higher tech option that requires extra micro beyond just a siege on siege. Maybe more marauders, but generally, like, your marauder count was pretty low, honestly. That's another thing I noticed kind of late. I'm sorry I didn't mention that earlier. Like, 3 marauders to 32 marines against Protoss. He's going to shred you with storms, and he's going to shred you with his colossus. Just marauders take a lot more damage. Your best count, I think, is 7. So it's not like you did poorly in any way, shape, or form. There's a couple of opportunities to win the game back here between about 7 minutes and 10 minutes. And don't get me wrong, you had opportunities after that at 11 something and so on and so forth. You just didn't cross the map and shut down his income. Yada yada yada. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a